Good morning. Welcome back to Brandon Farm. I'm Danielle. In case you're new here, this is Brandon Farm. It's just my little hobby farm on our 1 acre plot. We have big plans for our 1 acre. So this morning I got up extra early. It's about almost 7. I got up at 6:30. Started and made my coffee. I want to start some seeds today. So I'm going to take you through that process of which ones I'm going to start. I need to fill up bird feeders. I think that's every every time I do a video, I have to fill up the bird feeders. I need to collect eggs because last night uh, my mom and I went out to Sam's and we didn't get back till late. So Sam's is like a Costco, like where you buy in bulk. I was watching Roots and Refuge YouTube yesterday, and she said on there one of your main things that you want to kind of invest in or make sure that you have on hand is rice and beans whenever like the world comes to an end. And so we got this like 25 pound bag of rice, and then I forget how many pounds bag of beans. I mean, this bag is huge. You're like throwing it over your shoulder to put it in the car. But in end times and when the world is not what it should be and everyone starts to panic, I'm going to be the one that has rice and beans. So you can come over to my house and have some rice and beans. Um, and then I'll have my garden, of course. So I'll have rice and beans and all the vegetables that you can shake a stick at. So my point was last night we got back late, so I didn't get to like collect eggs or anything from the day before. So I'm going to do that. Refresh all of the chicken water. It's kind of cooled down here a smidge, like a smidge. We had one day where it was like in like 80s in the morning, 90s in the afternoon, which was wonderful. And it did rain slightly, not enough to even make a dent in our rain gauge, but it did rain. But then it just shot back up to in the hundreds. So I don't know what it's going to be today. I actually haven't checked the forecast today at all. Normally, I'm not the one that checks the forecast. Normally, it's my husband who checks the forecast. I know I should probably be better at that though. I'm going to go ahead and see if we've got any eggs in this nesting box here. Hopefully I don't disturb anyone that's in here already. Okay, good. Oh my gosh. We only got one. I think because it's been so hot out that we're not getting as many eggs as we normally do. I got two from the other side. They are laying, let's see, underneath here. And so I'm going to go ahead and check that. But in here, we've only got the one. So put that in my little egg basket here. Gosh, I need to wake up. I am not awake yet. Another thing, because we got in late last night, we didn't water. So I'm going to go grab or turn on the water and grab the water hose. There is a couple of things that just aren't looking great anymore, so I'm probably gonna rip that up too. My eggplant is just something ate the crap out of it. So, and you know what? We're not big eggplant people anyway. I planted it. Well, the reason is we went to Antique Alley, which is this huge antique festival. It goes like 13 miles. All the way from Cleburne, Texas to Maypearl, Texas. We go every year. It's twice a year, once in April and then once in September. So, anyway, but sometimes they have like plant vendors out there, and they had eggplant and they looked really good, like healthy, good eggplant starts. I don't know. So they looked really good. So my mom ended up getting two. She took one and I took one. And come to find out, now that we're getting fruit from it, they're two different kinds of eggplants, which is very strange. So mine is like the long, like slender kind that kind of bulbs at the end. And then hers are these big, chunky, fat guys that have a lot of like variegation in them almost. Like they have like the green lines that go down the purple eggplant. And they're not super deep in color. They're almost like a lighter, like lavender kind of purple. Mine are a very deep, like rich, royal purple. Chickens getting on stuff they shouldn't and knocking it down. Anyway, so how funny is that? We got the same like eggplant at the same vendor at the same time, and they ended up being two different kinds of eggplant. I thought it was neat, but we are not big eggplant people. I grew it on a whim. I did actually have pretty good success with it. We just don't eat a lot of eggplant. So something got it, the bugs got it, and it's all chewed up. It looks like Swiss cheese. So I'm going to probably pull that before I water because if I do it after, it's going to be all soggy and gross. Okay, I'm going to go turn on the As I'm watering, I am checking on all my plants, and I've noticed that my pumpkins have grown quite a bit. So I'm still continuing to wrap them around the twine and have them grow up vertically in this trellis. Some of them are really taking off. Some of them are still kind of small, and that's okay. I don't want, huge competition here. But the end goal is to have this whole trellis just covered in leaves and pumpkin and I don't know. I think it'd be fun. It's probably not going to be able to I won't be able to walk through here is what what I'm thinking because it's going to be hanging down and pumpkins are going to be everywhere and I'm going to have to like hammock the pumpkins because they're going to be hanging vertically or growing vertically instead of horizontal. So, it's a new one on me. It's a new experiment. But when you have the hobby farm and you have the space and you have the time to implement those new experiments, that's how you learn. That's how you learn how things grow. That's how you learn what works best for you. That's how you learn all kinds of things. And I think that is worth trying, in my opinion. So, even though it's something I've never done before, even though many people have said, don't do that. Like, that's not how you grow pumpkins. What are you going to do when you've got pumpkins hanging and yada, 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 yada? That doesn't bother me. You can't bother me. You can't offend me. I'm going to do what I want to do. It's my garden. It's where I learn. You know, it's my garden and I'll cry if I want to. No, but it's my classroom is what they call it, right? It's your classroom. So this is where I'm learning. This is where I'm learning to grow stuff. This is where all my big ideas are going to come into play. So to me, it's worth it. Honestly, this is my cucumber here. I don't even know what variety it is. I think I got it at like a Lowe's or Home Depot or maybe Tractor Supply. But anyway, it's pretty crunchy and toasty, and I don't think it's producing any more cucumbers. I'm really tempted to just pull it up. I've got more cucumbers to put in the ground to succession sow them. But the problem with this one is my garden spider right here. You kind of see right there. She's making her little web again. I have two garden spiders, and one, we had some pretty hefty winds yesterday, and one linked on to one of my like trellises kind of situation, and it's just like a doll dress form, like yard art, and it tipped over, and so her web is gone. She is gone. I don't know where she is. I mean, I hope she comes back. I didn't mean for that to happen. But this one, she's attached to the cucumbers, and I'm afraid if I rip the cucumbers off, she'll leave. And to my knowledge, I think they're good. I think they're good for the garden. So I don't know that that's something that I want to do, but it really needs to happen. It's looking rough. A couple things that I want to show you. I had planted some pumpkins early on. Um, Probably one of the first pumpkins I planted in the garden this year, and I just let them do whatever. Some of them are getting pretty white. It looks like a nitrogen deficiency to me, so I'm going to add some blood meal to that. Then this is one of the pots that I tried to create like a secondary strawberry plant. This was the baby strawberry plant to the mama strawberry plant. Well, I cut off the runners because I felt like it was time. One of them did survive. I still have one in here. But then I had this random thing growing, and this is from the chicken's feed. And so I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to see what it does. Everything is watered. A few things were looking a little rough, like some of the pumpkins that I showed you are, I believe, lacking in nitrogen. My squash plant, my one and only trusty squash plant that I actually harvested a squash off of 2 days ago, is looking the same way. So very light in color, like it's losing its green color, and I just think that's a nitrogen deficiency. So I gave that one some blood meal too. So the reason I do blood meal is because one, it's natural. It's not like a fertilizer or chemical or anything like that. But also it's high in nitrogen and it works. My beans that I planted way back here were also looking the same way. All I did was sprinkle a little blood meal on them, and they are now green. So I'm going to test it again on my pumpkins and my squash and see if that's even the problem and report back. It's just so nice out here. No one is up yet. My kids aren't up. My husband isn't up. It's just me. It's about 8:15 now. It's probably my favorite my favorite time of the day. It's not hot out yet. The sun's just coming over the house. It's quiet. It's just so peaceful. Listen, if you need a sign to start a garden, here it is right here. Start a garden, put a bench in your garden so you can sit in your garden and have your morning coffee and just be at peace because it's nice. So here's your sign. Put a garden in, put a bench in your garden, grab a cup of coffee. You'll thank me later. Mm. So I'm trying to finish this coffee. What's getting cold? And I'm just dying to get stuff done. So, I was trying to get a game plan going here. I have several parts of my garden that are like my in-ground beds that I really want to plant. And I want to plant more where my beans and my zinnias are because it looks so pretty. I didn't realize, okay, I'm a very wild, willy-nilly planter, okay? You can see that from my garden. There's just stuff growing everywhere. Nothing makes sense in some of the beds. This past season for spring, I bought everything. Like I bought starts, like from Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, Tractor Supply, Springtown Nursery. And I would buy like ones or twos. I don't even think I bought over two. Anyway, and that's what I planted. So when I planted it, I've got like two things here. I've got one of these things, two things here. It's just a mess. So for the fall, when I decided I want to do seeds, I started seeds. And when I planted this fall bed over here, when I planted the seeds, I planted, 2 inches apart. So every 2 inches in a row. And they're all coming up and they're so pretty. Like visually, I love it so much. Like I like the wild side too, but visually, when these new starts come up in a row and they're just one right after another, and they're in this perfect straight line that goes all the way down. Oh, it's so pleasing. It's so pleasing to me. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to continue to do that in that bed. Right now, all I have is my row of beans. And in the very middle of the bed, I have a row of zinnias. I planted the zinnias because, for one, they're pretty. But two, they're kind of like what they call a decoy flower, and they're a pollinator. So when I say decoy flower, I mean the pests are going to be more likely to go to your decoy flowers than your vegetables because they look more appealing, right? They're colorful, they are sometimes fragrant. Um, so that's the idea, is to get your insects, your pests, your bugs to go to your decoy flower or your decoy plant. Someone's fixing to lay an egg. Instead of your hard worked, hard earned vegetables that you've put a lot of time and effort into starting the seed and then transplanting or direct sowing it. That's the idea. Also, they are pollinators, so they will attract your good bugs like your butterflies, your ladybugs, dragonflies, all of these things that are not going to harm your garden. They're going to help your garden. The hummingbirds, they love them. So they serve many purposes. Plus, I like the zinnias because I can cut them. You do that wiggle test, which I haven't totally got down yet, because once I cut a zinnia that I thought was ready, and the next day I came out and the plant was like, "Eek," like all wilted and not happy with me. So I don't know what I did. I don't know if I cut it too soon, or it wasn't ready, or it just got mad because I took its flower. I don't know. But anyway, so they serve many purposes: decoy flower, pollinator flower, and flower I can cut and put in my house in a vase. choke on my coffee. So anyway, that's the idea. So I have beans and I have zinnias. What I want to go in there is a row of beets, a row of carrots, and I need one more thing to put in there. And I don't know what yet. So I'll probably go through my seeds and try to figure that out. I am just itching to start seeds. I want to direct sow something else. I love seeing it like pop up out of the ground and like flourish into this beautiful plant. It makes my heart happy. And that's why I do this, because it makes my heart happy. But I think it's a little too soon. It's a little too soon. It's not too soon for beans, apparently. Apparently you can do beans a lot. Oh, lettuce. Lettuce is another thing that I wanted to direct sow in that bed. I don't know which kind of lettuce, because I bought like a million different kinds. So I'm going to have to figure that one out. And then behind me, I have 2 rows of my pepper plants. And like I mentioned before, we don't really eat a lot of peppers. I don't know why I planted them. They were more of like an experimental thing. And my bell peppers are not doing very well. So it's time for them to move on. So when I'm ready, what I'm going to do, here's my plan. I'm all over the place. Here's my plan. Behind me, my pepper plants. I want both of those beds for tomatoes. I think that's where I'm going to put all my tomatoes. I had them there the year before, and they did okay, I feel like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start today some tomato seeds. I'm going to start my plants, my tomato plants. When they are ready to transplant, I'm going to rip up my peppers. I'm going to prep my beds, and then I'm going to transplant them into the pepper beds. That's my plan. So it'll be tomatoes and pumpkins together, which I don't know if that's a good companion. I need to find my companion book again and go through that. Ew, that was cold. Okay. My other beds that I have prepped and ready, my mint bed, I'm going to put my random stuff in. And I don't know, they're about 2 feet by 4 feet long. So they're real small. And I don't know if I can get 2 rows going down or if I just need to do one down the middle. Knowing me, I'm going to do 2 rows. And then I have my asparagus bed, which has 2 sides because the asparagus is basically in the middle, which messed up there, but it is what it is. And then I have my random front flower bed that has like my collard greens, which we don't eat a lot of, but I have been putting them in the juicer. Broccoli, which I didn't have the heart to pull the broccoli plant. I don't know why. I just didn't. It still looks good. It's not producing any broccoli. But in my head, I'm thinking, well, maybe if it cools off enough, or maybe if I just give it a few more weeks, maybe it will start producing broccoli again. I don't know. So I'm going to leave that as an experiment. And then I have my kale, which my kale I would really like to harvest before it croaks because I like the kale. You can do a whole bunch of things with kale. I use it for salads. I put it in the juicer. The kale is good. And I think I'll continue to do the kale. I like it. And it grows really well. But I'm going to harvest all of that before it croaks because if not, then I'm just wasting it. So I'm going to freeze a lot of my kale. And then I have all my zinnias, and I have 2 artichoke plants, which have not done anything but look like sad. So I really don't know what to do with that. I did read somewhere that that's a 6-year plant. Like it takes 6 years to produce, or like it will survive for 6 years. I have no idea. So that's kind of my experimental bed. And I do have my squash plant in there, and the rest is just zinnias. And I have a sweet potato vine. Let me tell you, sweet potato vines in Texas, primo. They do so well. They are in every landscape that you see. Like if you have your yard done professionally by landscapers, that's like the #1 thing that they'll put. Lantana is a good one, and sweet potato vine is another good one that thrives in that Texas heat. It's insane. I will show you My green sweet potato vine is massive. It did not struggle in the heat. I mean, I water it every day, but I don't like soak it. I just kind of willy nilly water it, and it is thriving. Thriving. So I'd say if you are looking for landscape plants in Texas, lantana, crepe myrtles, sweet potato vine are like the number 3 deals to put in your landscape that's going to thrive. I mean, I'm sure there's more. There's plenty more. But those are the 3 that never fail me. Then I have tons of pots. Tons of pots. Actually, I picked up all of my terracotta pots. I shouldn't say all. Half of them came from my mother-in-law. She had a ton. And when we moved, we took them all with us, which I'm so glad I did because I almost gave them all to the neighbor. I'm glad I didn't do that. I did give them the ones I didn't really care for that had color. I don't really like a whole lot of color in my pots. I really, really, really like the terracotta pots. I don't know why. But I picked up, so half came from my mother-in-law, and then half, I'm a FedEx courier. In case you didn't know, I drive for FedEx. And I drive in Denton, Texas. That's my area to deliver. And Denton's huge. There's probably like 6 or 7 of us out there delivering. But so when I'm driving down the road and I'm delivering my packages, my eyes and my head are on a swivel. I am constantly looking down every single street to see if there's something that I can pick up off the side of the road. And I just so happened to find all of these terracotta pots on the side of the road that somebody was getting rid of. So I snagged them all. We have a visitor.